Welcome everybody again. My name is Graham Day. I'm here with my friend and colleague Davina, who will introduce herself in a second. I'm the investment director here at Spring, and you'll learn a bit more about Spring during this session, but specifically we're going to be talking about the Impact Investor Challenge and the different programs that we have coming up. I myself have been an investor before, an impact investor before as part of a fund. I've also worked on scaling up companies and now happy to be working with Spring to bring together investor networks and really good impact-led companies to bolster and move forward the impact ecosystem here in Canada and abroad. Davina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Davina McPhail. I'm a program manager at Spring. I am supporting and leading the Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge that some of you might be interested in today, as well as the Kootenays Investor Challenge. So welcome all.
Our company, as you'll learn, is based in the Vancouver area, as it is commonly known, and we wanted to respectfully acknowledge that that location is the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I happen to be based on Vancouver Island on the Saanich Peninsula, for those that know it, which is the traditional territories of the Wasanich peoples. Davina, do you want to take us through the agenda?
Yeah. So our agenda today, after a few welcomes and welcoming all of you today, great to see you all. We'll go over kind of an overview of the program, kind of explaining a bit everything you need to know about these exciting programs, and so how they work, how they've been structured, and what are the goals behind them. And then we'll go over the different program options, as we have several programs running this fall, and so kind of give you a bit more detail about each of those. And so maybe kind of also we're on Crowdcast, so please feel free to ask questions in the chat. There's also an ask a question function at the bottom of your screen. So this allows you to ask a question there and for everybody else to vote for the questions that they think they are also interested in and get an answer for. So please use that. I will be in the background as Graham presents the next part of the presentation, but I'll be also available on chat answering your questions there if it's a quick question to answer. Thanks. Graham, over to you.
Thank you so much. We have people here today from, I think, all over the country, which is super exciting. Thanks again for your time. We'll get into this as quickly as we can to answer your questions and give you an overview. As Julie says there, she has a meeting coming up, but can catch up on the recording. That's absolutely true. And if you've signed up for this event, you will get an automatic email afterwards with this recording so that you can review or watch for the first time at your leisure. In the meantime, those that are with us today, feel free to introduce yourselves. It'd be great to know kind of who's there. So Spring Activator. So if you don't know Spring, we've been around for about 9 years now. Broadly operate in the entrepreneur ecosystem focused on impactful companies. One major line of work we have is accelerating and growing those kind of companies, mainly at the early stages. And so we've been doing that for a long time, as you'll see, working with literally thousands of entrepreneurs over that period of time. More recently, we've been working with investors because after all this time working with entrepreneurs, we've learned how many of them need capital to advance their business models and grow. And as you probably well know, it is very hard to raise capital, especially at the early stages. And so we're trying to make that easier for them. And on the other hand, we're trying to bridge investors who are interested in becoming more active and more catalytic in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So Spring does a lot of programming in those different areas. We exist to change the world through innovation. We're certified B Corp for those that know, also a member of 1% for the planet. And I mentioned that we're based here in Vancouver area. We also have an office in Toronto, San Francisco. We have somebody that works with us in Singapore as well. So you can see all over this world map, we have programs in a lot of different countries, but our major focus has been and will continue to be Canada. Here you can see some of the numbers of the communities we've worked with, the alumni we've trained, companies supported, etc. We're proud to be, touching a lot of different actors and stakeholders in this system to advance social impact. Here's the team. You might interact with a lot of us. Hopefully those that know Spring already know some of the faces on here. We're excited to be walking this journey with you. You can reach us by email on Slack, and we're excited to help you and collaborate. Now, let's get to what we're talking about today. So the Impact Investor Challenge, we created this, and I've mentioned this a little bit already, because we have been talking to so many entrepreneurs that are trying to raise money at early stages, and talking to more and more investors who just want to be active. Some of them experienced investors who want to understand how groups like us and others evaluate impact and have that impact lens, whether it be environmental or human health or education, whatever the impact lens is, how to bring that into to investment decisions. And some investors are just brand new to investing, may have come into wealth, or maybe professionals just interested in perhaps diverting a bit of their philanthropic capital, or diverting some of their investment capital into this early stage direct investing piece. So with those two groups there, we put together this program that brings them together. And we're going to be talking about exactly that in some detail now. Before I go too much further, we have run already 8 of these programs. We're running many more in the future. These are the next 3 coming up. The Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge, which Davina mentioned, she is leading. We'll be doing one specifically for Ontario starting in November. And we're doing one in the Kootenays region, which is the eastern region of British Columbia also. More to come. Those are the 3 cohorts that we are filling at the moment. And we actually have a poll, I think, that we'll launch right now to for us to know as facilitators who's here for which of these sessions, or at least which you're most interested in, and that'll just help us answer questions and tweak some of the future slides that we're going through. So back to the Impact Investor Challenge. What are the goals of this program? Investors and entrepreneurs will learn together what it means to invest and receive an investment. And I want to really emphasize that point. It's quite together, which makes this program unique. As you'll see, investors and entrepreneurs are kind of walking this journey together over an extended period of time to build relationships, break down some of those power dynamics, and learn what it means to invest and to actually absorb investment. It's also an experience for you as investors to learn a bit about yourselves. What is important for you? What is your impact thesis as we talk about it? What are some of the ideas you might have about what's important in an investment? Are you a person that's particularly interested in the team behind it, or is it the business model? Are you a finance person that's going to dig into that? It's an experience that you'll have time to walk and learn. And in that theme, it's also done not in a vacuum by yourself, like a self-led course online. This is a shared experience with people that hopefully have a lot in common with you doing this as well. So a lot of experiential learning with the group. And perhaps finally, this is an opportunity for action. You will make an investment at the end of this. You will contribute into a pool, and the winner, as you'll find out, will receive that full investment. And so you will walk away from this program with an investment made, and that makes this program quite unique as well. And having that investment made gives you opportunities to work with that entrepreneur in the future, perhaps as an advisor or a helper or an ambassador of their brand. So lots of ways to get involved, which we'll talk about. I talked a little bit about who might be part of this. Some of the participants we've worked with include seasoned investors that are interested more in impact-led entrepreneurs that are often exited, done well in their business and interested in investing or giving back to the community. Corporate or new career individuals who are purpose-driven and often specifically looking at different themes to learn more about and support entrepreneurs. And of course, professionals who are looking to stay on innovation, learn about investing. So there's a myriad of participants that come into the program, which is the exact point and makes the cohort that much stronger because there's that different experience in the room and different point of view. I mentioned that we've we've done this before. We've been over the last several years running these impact investor challenges, and we have done 7 to date in Canada, and that equates to about 160 investors have come through the program and are now program alumni. Some of them will be coming back into these cohorts, so you will meet some of them. Others are active with us online. We have featured over 170 companies as part of our kind of early cohort, our curated cohorts that will be presented to the investors. And many of those, as a result, have received investment simply by being kind of featured through this pitch process, which you'll learn about in a minute. We've had 38 finalists, which you'll learn about shortly, is the group that investors do research into. And yeah, that's where the detail comes in. We didn't lose me for too long there, just as describing a little bit about what how the previous impact investor challenges have gone. We had finalists. The direct investments that have gone in as a result of this program now total $1 million to those 7 investments, and beyond that million, 15 million have been catalyzed. And what we mean by that is the companies that have been finalists have raised that much money around the time of the Impact Investor Challenge, so much of which from the contacts and experience they've had through the program. So we're quite proud of this, and we're excited to scale this and really hoping you're on that journey with us. So how does the program actually work? So this is kind of probably why many of you are here today, to understand this process. So we have typically we do a call for applications on both sides, on the investor side and on the entrepreneur side. We get over 100 applications usually per challenge on the entrepreneur side. Spring and our partners take care of evaluating those companies and selecting 15 to show to the investor cohort. So that happens after orientation and preparation. We show those 15 companies. Meanwhile, the investors that have come on board on the cohort have pre-committed to the pool, and that totals at least $100,000, often more than that. And so the companies that are applying know that that pool is available for the winner. Though once those companies have been shown to the investors, there was a weekly meeting, 2-hour sessions, and there's content for each of those. There'll be guest speakers to talk about a specific theme of investing or application of investing. And then the other part of that 2-hour session is actually work with the entrepreneurs and in your investment teams to look into the investment, research it, and come to a decision at the end. So you can see some of the topics covered here, what we would talk about in those individual sessions. We'll talk about the landscape, valuation, how due diligence works, how you research specific companies, impact thesis and measurement, how the companies are thinking through their impact, what they are and would measure in the future, how negotiation and valuation of companies works, and themes around post-investment considerations. How do you as an investor get involved in the governance of the company or help strategically in areas that the company and the founder need help? So think of it as a weekly commitment of 2 hours. And as you go across those 11 weeks, you're starting with orientation, then picking the companies down from 15 to 5 finalists. You're then broken up into teams, and you will be assigned, you'll be able to tell us which one you prefer, but you're eventually assigned to one of those 5 companies with a team. You spend the next 6 weeks with those founders looking into that specific company. You write an investment memo with our help, and you present that back to the team, and the entire cohort votes at the end in a final pitch session on who the winner will be. What does an ideal applicant look like? So what is part of that curated group? We're looking for impact companies. We have depending on the theme we're working with relatively wide definition of impact. We're looking for companies that can draw a line between what they're doing in business operations to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and kind of backing that up with a concept of how they might measure that. Generally pre-seed and seed stage with some indicator of traction. As you know, pre-seed companies tend to may not have revenue or large amounts of revenue, but they will all be much more than a company on paper. They will have some sort of intellectual property either registered or on the way. They may be able to point to prospective client agreements, a team in place, something to suggest some sort of traction there that you're betting on. Obviously, a strong team that is committed. So we ask questions like, how many hours per week are you and the team dedicating to this, to make sure that there's a team behind it that is doing this and has skin in the game. And of course, potential to scale. Looking for companies that are typically raising between $250,000 and up to $5 million. That we'd say that so that the $100,000 is relevant for them. And what we find is that the companies that are in this competition or in this process experience, they're using this challenge as a way to catalyze their round and help them raise the full amount that they're going for. So many of you probably have questions on exactly how the investment works. So education and experience and network aside, how does the investment actually work? So at the end of the program, there will be an investment. Let's call it $100,000. It's usually more than that. It's been up to 300 in the past, but let's call it $100,000 into the winning company. So that is a pre-committed amount. You as the investors, about halfway through the program, will actually write that check to this to Spring, which will deposit it in this newly created company. We call those companies SPVs, special purpose vehicles. It's just a new company whose sole purpose is to make this investment. And we do that for a couple of reasons, but one is for the founders and the entrepreneurs. As you probably well know, most founders wouldn't want to take on small investments, and so by grouping them together, it becomes a single investment on their cap table. So they have a single investor usually called Spring SPV something or other, and that becomes the investor in their company. But it's just a pass-through entity. The terms are set. You may ask, does Spring force terms on the entrepreneurs? No, the entrepreneurs or founders through the process will pitch to you, the investors, what the terms of the investment are. So it might be an equity deal. It might be some sort of a revenue share deal. It most commonly in the past has been a kind of a convertible deal, or a SAFE, as we call them, a simple agreement for future equity. You'll learn all these terms in the program, but the point here is this is company led. They're the ones coming to you with what they think are reasonable terms, and if they have a round underway, those terms are relatively set. If they're just starting their round and using this program as one to kind of set the tone, there may be some room for negotiation there. Now, Spring, we are the partners and facilitators of this, and so we're creating this vehicle for you, the investors, but we don't take a carry in it. We're not financially, we don't financially benefit from the deal, and that's done deliberately, as you can imagine why. The SPV will, though, withhold a portion of the funds for lifetime corporate expenses, and that is just so this company obviously every year will need to make its business registration update and pay an accountant to just file away what it needs to for corporate maintenance purposes. And so if $100,000 is put into the pot, 95,000 gets transferred in investment to the final company, and that $5,000 sits there to pay off expenses. And if the company is dissolved early from an exit, that money will go back to you, the investors. So that's, again, it's just withholding there to pay some minor expenses from the fund. We also get asked, so what is the returns like? This is high risk, early stage investment. So everybody needs to know that whatever you're investing it's a risky investment. These are early companies. The idea, though, is that in a certain period of time, those companies will pay back to you what you invested in and much more, either because they've been acquired by somebody or they're repaying it from management, or potentially they go on the stock market one day. Whatever it is, that's the exit is expected, would hopefully occur. When does that happen? Hard to say. Early exits would be considered on the early side 4 years, but could be 8 or 9 years. So it's a long-term thing, and the idea is that you stay as close to the company as you want over that period of time to see how it's going and lend your support. I see a question from Joanne here, which is a great question at this time, and Davina's just answered it. So we set these investment amounts as a way to be accessible to you. So non-accredited investors, 2,500, and accredited investors, 10,000. What we hope with those amounts is it's an accessible amount to kind of try this out, knowing full well the risks involved, and that's how you get to that $100,000 or more. In terms of exits from the last 7 challenges, there's been no exit simply because these have happened mostly in the last 18 to 24 months. What I can say is if you look at almost all of those companies have re-raised since our investment, which is very exciting to suggest that they're moving quickly, needing more capital and raising. And not only are they raising, but they're raising at higher valuations. So one metric we can look at to see the success of that portfolio is the markup on valuations. And that's at this point at 2.1x markup on their valuations. So if the company was in the challenge and had a $5 million valuation when the investment went in, the average company now, 18 to 24 months later, has over a $10 million valuation. So it suggests they're all moving in the right direction. There will be variation in that. Some are on the low end of that. Some have increased some further than that. So that's the main kind of stat we're looking at. After the program, so great, you've made your investment. It closes, excited, that's done. Now what? After the program, what we are setting up is an investor network. We're calling it the Spring Investing Collective, and you will part of your fees go into having this 1-year membership in the network, where we will be feeding you with more deal flow. So you can imagine that Spring sees a lot of deal flow, some of which we can fit into the challenges. Some can't, or some companies may not want to go through the challenge and want to just be kind of promoted amongst our investors and our investor alumni. So we'll be providing that deal flow to you. There'll be events too, in person and virtually. We'll be putting forward supplementary education content and workshops and tools, and generally pushing out information and news to you. And what we're hoping to do is create this community of alumni and other investors that are passionate about impact at an early stage. And so we really see this program, this Impact Investor Challenge, as just a gateway to kind of a larger commitment and participation in this family that we're calling the Spring Investing Collective. So this is a work in progress being launched kind of as we speak, and we're very excited to be doing that at the moment. So speaking of those costs, I said that it includes the program fees include the network. That program fee also covers general administration. You can imagine there's legal support in the background to make all of this work, and of course the fees associated with running this, facilitating it. So the fees are as follows. It's $1,900 for the women-led challenge and the Ontario Impact Investor Challenge. It's less for this specific Kootenay Investor Challenge, where we have a certain support that allows us to do that. What we really want, though, is to fill these cohorts, and we're well on our way to doing that. And so if this price, this $1,900, is a barrier for you for whatever reason, still register for this program, which will trigger a call with us and ask us about whether there's any discounts available for you. And quite often there can be via a partnership that you have, or other ways. So there's ways that we could kind of seek subsidies, for lack of a better word, for you. So please don't let that be a barrier to signing up for the program. The investment commitment, as we already mentioned, $2,500 and $10,000. And another perk of doing the program is that you can join any future one of these for free. And so that's a bit how we get this revolving door a bit with our alumni coming back into the programs and adding a lot of value, and being able to explore different themes or regions in different impact investor challenges. So it's a little bit of investment up front, but lots of returns along the way for networking and future involvement with us. I'm wrapping up here relatively quickly. Let me just take you through a couple of the winners, because it'll give you a flavor for who's won in the past. This is Moment Energy. They are a BC clean tech startup. They've won a number of awards. They came into our program last spring in a national challenge that we ran. They were looking for $1 million at the time. They won our program, got a lot of publicity out of it. They then ended up raising, I think, over $3 million, and they decided to just increase their investment amount to be able to just do much more quicker. They've since signed a deal with Mercedes-Benz for their electric vehicle batteries. So you may have heard of them. Very, very exciting kind of trajectory for them, and our kind of challenge investors have been able to sort of stay close to them as a result of that investment. So excited to have worked with Samreen and the team on that. Another one we're just highlighting is the recent winner just a few months ago, UVX. This is Kunal, incredible technology that uses a certain UV wavelengths to disinfection, basically, of viruses and bacteria. And so they won the health challenge. It's got amazing applications for senior homes, for clinics and operating rooms. And so the doctors that were on this in this challenge really were super interested in it. And a couple of them have actually facilitated trials for Kunal. So beyond the investment, the cohort was able to come together and give him a bunch of avenues to explore for product market fit. So we're super excited to have Kunal as the most recent member of our winning alumni. When investors are saying, I've talked about different types of investors, I won't read these to you, but just lots of different profiles. Connie was relatively new to investing and wanted to do this as a first step, and she got a lot of value out of the program. So happy to have her as an alum now. Ted is somebody who had a lot of experience in green energy, and he worked in policy for the government and came more from an academic policy side, and was using this as a way to understand kind of private sector investment and so many of these promising technologies. So two different profiles, completely in two different challenges, yeah, they were very excited about the program. And by again joining the program, you'll meet Connie and Ted on our Slack channels and everything else as part of the network. So I'm going to wrap up now. I've spoken for a long time. I hope I've answered many of your questions, but just to sum up, what you're getting in these programs is you're getting pre-vetted deal flow. We do some of that upfront work for you to show you interesting companies. You're going to be part of a network and a cohort with other like-minded people that are interested in investing, interested in impact. You're going to get education via the program. There's some online education you'll get, as well as the actual webinars portion of each weekly meeting. Those come from us, but also a slew of great guest speakers and mentors that will be popping in and out of the program. And finally, you're getting an actual investment. You will have concluded an investment by the end of this, which is exciting in and of itself, and hopefully the first of many, or adding to your existing portfolio. So with that, I'd love to bring Davina back to the stage and answer any questions you might have. Those questions can go in the Ask a Question box or here in the chat. The first question I see here is accredited investor is above 5 million in net assets. There's a series of criteria for accredited investors, but the most common one we see is actually the income one. So it's I believe $200,000 of income per person, or 300,000 as a household, which is often a lower kind of barrier than the $5 million in net assets. We can pop in a link here to a website that
I will do that right away.
And another great question from Sergio is the whole program virtual? We yes is the short answer, but the expanded answer is as we come out of COVID now and doing more in-person events, what we're trying to do is have social events or drop-in events, at least in the major cities, to get people together. So the last few we've done a kind of a drop-in drinks night in Vancouver and in Toronto, where a lot of the investors tend to be, but we also have a lot of investors from the Calgary area and others. And so we'll be doing those as well, so that you can meet each other in person, but we'll keep the weekly meeting online, just so it's accessible to everybody evenly. Okay, I think we've exhausted questions for the moment. We are going to go to, in a second here, specific information on each one of those 3 programs, just so if you're wondering which one you're interested in. We've got quite a lot of people here for women-led, so we'll be focusing mostly on that. But before that, Olivia's question, do you want to take that one, Davina, on the commitment per week?
Sure. So I just also shared the link regarding accredited investors in the chat, so you're welcome to have a look. The program is 2 hours a week commitment for investors. Each session, so the sessions for different challenges are starting at the end of September, and then it's a fixed time every week. So that you'll have that in your calendar, and so 2 hours. I think it's also fair to say that as the program progresses and as you're working on your due diligence with your investor team, each I think Graham explained that, but just to reiterate that, as you know, the second part of the program, you will be, as investor, teamed up with a smaller group of investors and working a bit more in depth on the due diligence of one company. And so for that, you might also kind of plan for an extra, maybe an hour or an hour a week of personal work in addition to the sessions. So this kind of, you know, to help you plan. You know, most of the people in the challenge are all are working full time. And so, you know, we've seen that not everyone. I mean, there are some people who are not, but we've seen in the past that it's still quite manageable for people working full time joining the session, and then having a bit more extra work. And also, needed to say, usually that extra work is also a very valuable piece of the program, and people you usually enjoy that part, you know, where they kind of get to work with a smaller team on a due diligence, which is, you know, really what investment is all about, kind of doing a bit of that analysis work. And so, yeah.
I should say we both speak from experience. I was an investor in the pilot version of this before taking it over to expand that back in 2020. And Davina was an investor in the 2021, early 2021 version of the program as well. So we've both been in this from the inside as well. So exactly what she said, the program builds, so towards the end of it, you're spending a bit more time out of that 2-hour-a-week commitment, because you'll find that your team will want to meet out, have a bit more time to come together and synthesize information or discuss what they've heard, or maybe they'll book an extra call with the entrepreneur or with the entrepreneur's business partner to get a different perspective. So it's a bit led by you. To the extent you're going to dig into the company and the due diligence, that will trigger more time spent. But the idea is that, as Davina said, it's designed for people who are working full time and are fitting these extra hours in, and that those extra hours really apply to like the last, say, 2 or 3 weeks of the program. Super. Should we carry on to a bit more of the women-led one? One more question here first, Namendra, from nonprofit foundations to participate in this program. Namendra, maybe we should talk offline about that. We have had this in the past, which has been fantastic participants. It depends a little bit who's going to be the investor at the end of the day. Is it going to be the foundation itself, or will the foundation be sponsoring you or somebody on the foundation to be the investor? But there are multiple avenues for that to work. So yeah, please reach out and we can chat specifically about that. Oops, there we are, Davina.
Great. So just wanted to share a little bit more about the specific programs that we have lined up now. So the Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge is starting very soon. You know, some of you, thank you, and I've seen some applications come in as Graham, you were talking. So that's super exciting. So the program is presented by the Tellus Pollinator Fund for Good, and so they're supporting this program and are driving also the some of our speaker invitations and some of our events. So that's very exciting. We will, yeah, thank you. This is a national program, so investors from all over the country in Canada are welcome to apply. Also open to investors in the US. Feel free to reach out on that. And so it's really the idea behind this program is to really address the issue of the fact that there are just too few women founders who receive funding. And who raise funds. If you look at the statistics, I don't need to most of you are probably aware of that, but if you look at the statistics, you know, around 50% of startups created today are created by women. But then if you look at the number of companies that are actually raising, the number of women founders actually raising is below 5%. So, you know, the Tellus Pollinator Fund for Good, the Canadian Women's Foundation, Impact United, and Spring are kind of uniting our strength on this to propose this program to contribute a little bit to addressing this challenge. And so welcome. The applications for founders are now closed. We received over 80 applicants for this challenge on the founder side, on the company side. So a huge interest of companies all over the country. This is for any company based in Canada. So big interest. On the investor side also, we see a lot of interest. So if you're interested in applying, please send your application in soon. We are not focused only on women investors. The idea is that men are also welcome to be investors in this program, and we will be open to having you, of course. The idea is also that we need to have everybody at the table to address this issue, and so we're keen to have a good balance here. And so the sessions will run weekly from September 27th to December 6th. And so on Tuesdays from 3 to 5 PST, so 6 to 8 for people on the East Coast. Great. So we can move on. I don't know if there's any specific questions for the Women-Led Impact Investor Challenge. Feel free to share now or a bit later. Graham, do you want to share about the Ontario one?
Yeah. Sure. We'll briefly go through Ontario Impact Investor Challenge. So this is for any of you that are in Ontario or have ties to Ontario or just want to support Ontario businesses. We're doing this specifically, and to an earlier question, once a regional one actually allows us to do more in-person events. So we'll be doing more in-person things in Toronto for this one. This will run from November over break for the holidays, and then pick it up again in January. It will be for impact wide scale, in the sense that it'll be looking at a series of themes for any kind of founder. As I said, there'll be opportunities for in-person events and meetups, same type of program for actually the same time slot, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, and 2-hour sessions. Yeah, those 2-hour sessions per week. So the deadline for those are on the screen there. November 14th for investors and any companies that that might be interested in this challenge. October 28th. And then finally, the KAST one.
Yeah, so the KAST Impact Investor Challenge, actually the KAST Investor Challenge is one of our programs that is focused on local development. And so that's why it's labeled as an investor challenge. And so we're really focusing on creating a community of investors in a certain region. And so the KAST, so Kootenays, a region of BC, we've started already working with the entrepreneurs as they're going through their orientation. This program will start on September 29th and run until December 1st. And so this will be for investors who have ties with the Kootenay region. And so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, had you finish there?
No, it's okay. And we also, those who are interested specifically on for KAST, there is also an info session that will be also running later on today at 4 o'clock to focus specifically on KAST. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out and register, or there'll be a recording for that also.
Perfect. Now you've heard us mention a whole bunch of names. So sorry. Here's the different dates coming up, and let me just reshare here. Sorry about that. You've heard a bunch of different names come up. We talked about TELUS Pollinator Fund for Good, the Canadian Women's Foundation, KAST. We also want to make sure we thank all of our sponsors and partners for these different impact investor challenges that we're doing. So we couldn't do this without these different companies you see on the screen. DLA Piper, our legal backend. Inc. also helps legal for the companies. MNP also provides some additional support for on the accounting side. Tandem, Janice, a fantastic partner as well. And actually, I think Jill said hi earlier. So hi, Jill. Thank you for being here and your support. Carl Young Financial Services, based here in the Vancouver area, and Active Impact Investments. They provided a founding role in actually the creation of this challenge. So you'll be meeting different members of these different partners and sponsors that are financially helping, but also providing content for the program. So just wanted to make sure we presented them. Great, I think I already showed this, and we still have about 10 minutes for any other questions. Selena will drop this feedback form into the chat, so you can let us know what you thought, which is great. So because we constantly try to improve these to make sure everybody gets the information they need. I think we have a couple here and ask a question.
Yep.
Yeah, Joanne, I tried to answer this one already. So it is virtual core. So all the different sessions are virtual, but we'll augment that with in-person social events so that everybody can, well, not as many people as possible can meet each other in more of a casual setting usually. And for the Ontario one, we'll do that even more, since everybody will be based in the Ontario area. For the women-led one, because that's across the country, there'll be in-person events, but probably only in major cities like Vancouver, Toronto, maybe Calgary, and it depends really where everybody is from the cohort. And Sergio's asking for the link to register for the talk, and there it is. It's great. So maybe just leave you with I think it's been shared many times, the link to register. That link to register gives us a bit of information about you, and then you'll get an automatic email asking you to book a call with one of us. It allows us just to answer any more questions you have. So registering does not commit you to anything. Registering just kind of gets your information to us, so we can then have a chat and figure out which program is best for you, or answer any questions. And then after that, we would send you a commitment document where you would commit to the fees and commit to the future investment that you'll make. So feel free to do that, just so we can follow up and have a chat. And we're more than happy to have that time with you and answer any questions you might have. And there's the link, magically. I love that. Anything else from your side, Tavina?
No, I think you covered it quite well. These programs are quite exciting and unique, and as Graham said, both of us have done them as an investor, and so did get a lot out of it. I mean, it's a great way also to just make connections with people, and so and in a way that is quite unusual. It's kind of suddenly becoming an investor team together with people you don't know. It's quite an experience. And Graham, I was just chatting also with one of our past participants last week, and he kind of told me how this was really like such an interesting business course that we actually learn and then apply directly our learnings with actual companies. This is not a theoretical program; it's really hands-on. So it's kind of sharing a bit of feedback here and and good feelings about the program. But I think it's also good to know, and it's also quite fun, right? You have fun in these sessions, and we try to make them as fun as possible.
Yeah, no, it's a great group to be a part of. Well, thanks everyone. I would also say that there's a portion of people that don't apply or register, but they're very interested, but maybe it just doesn't fit in their schedule at this particular moment in time because of other family commitments or professional commitments, or maybe the time doesn't quite work. We're constantly trying to offer different programs at different times to accommodate you. There will be more programs coming in the spring of next year, or winter and spring. So shoot us an email just so you're on our lists and you'll get future notifications from that. So maybe we can drop in maybe Selena's email there, or you can kind of just make a note of that in your application, and then you can just make sure to hear about future programs from us. Many of the people that apply to our programs are ones that were interested last year, and just it took that much time to be able to sort out their schedule to come in. So there's Davina's email too. Great.
And you can follow us on LinkedIn. Also happy to connect there.
Davina has a TikTok channel. No, she doesn't. Great. Thanks, everybody. We'll leave you there, give you back some time. Thanks so much for participating today. Feel free to share this email that you will get from us with this recording to others that might be interested in the program, and we look forward to having you in the cohorts.
Thank you. Thanks, Graham.